Ready to go, open for questions?
So, Rich, this week you got film with quarterbacks, and what do you teach off of that? Obviously negatives, hopefully a few positives. What do you reinforce? What do you try to get better?
Yeah, Greg, it's been, the quarterback thing has been, I've had 1 year that was similar to this, but, and it's not, everybody will look for a reason or excuse why, but when your top four or your four oldest quarterbacks are all out or can't play, and you're midway through the season, and now you're down to your freshman, he's a talented guy and going to be a really good player. It presents a challenge that, okay, you want to do things that he can do, but you also got to make sure that it fits the rest of the guys on offense. And I thought Scotty competed well. I think he's getting better every time he plays. There's nothing like game reps, and I think this week of practice will be good for him to take another step going forward for this Saturday. So, but it's been a unique challenge to say the least with the injury standpoint, and then the experience or lack of experience around him as well. So again, that you could say, man, I'm just stating the facts, but it's our job to get him in a position where he could have some success, and then more importantly, the guys around him got to help him have success.
Is game experience vital, or can it be detrimental if it kills their confidence?
That's a good question. The confidence standpoint, it's natural. As much as I tell the guys, listen, you got to flush any bad plays away, and it was a terrible game. We played awful, and you got to flush it away, but you also got to learn from it. So I don't. There's things in that game that are unacceptable that we've got to fix, and I think our guys are conscientious enough to know that, even though it's the first year and you're still, I guess, trying to build the kind of culture you want. It's still they know that there's parts of that shouldn't happen, and they'll get better from it.
What were you most concerned about with the performance last week?
Well, most of the games we played, and maybe we didn't play well, but I thought the intensity or the competitiveness, if that's the right word, was still there. And in this past game, it wasn't. And that's again, poor coaching, from that standpoint, because we got to do a job, especially me, from our guys having that certain level of competitiveness in every play. And in that game, there were a lot of, even early in the game, before anybody even scored a touchdown or something, that was the most surprising part of that deal.
When you look at a game like that against UCF, against a team that was also winless coming into Big 12 play, kind of going through similar things with a first-year coach, do you feel like that game shows that, simply put, West Virginia is that far away from where UCF even is now, or do you think that was just a bad day?
And you're leading down a negative way, which is the exact problem that you have when you're like, oh, this is so negative, and oh, this is a. No, I'm just telling you. I'm not. I know where you're leading into the. Oh, it's like doom. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's like, oh gosh, they're struggling. We're struggling. They're first year. We're first year, and look what they beat. Yeah, we played awful, and they played better, and we've got a lot of things to fix. But I'm not going to look at it in totality and say, oh gosh, they're going to be that we can't fix our problem, and we're that far behind them. So, you can think that way. But I'm not, and our players aren't, and our program's not.
Where are you at with establishing your culture? Are you there yet, or you still got ways?
No, I think we still have a ways to go. Obviously, I think that's the part that you think you have it. I never thought it was totally in. I think you have to play a whole season, but I thought we were further with that, and. Unfortunately, I haven't done a good enough job to get that to where we want to. I don't think it's that, far off as maybe it looks like, because it's obviously looked like, geez, you got a lot, from a culture standpoint, and a roster standpoint. There's a lot of things. We ain't gonna go through the whole time here, but trust me, I am evaluating anything and everything to do with our football program, starting with myself. and the staff, and then the players and everything else that we need to do to have success. I'm still convinced we're going to win big and have great success. It's not happening as fast as I want, for sure, but we're putting the pieces together. It's just painfully obvious that it's going to take us a little longer. And some of it is bad luck, and some of it is, missed evaluations, and some of it is simply we've got to be able to adapt a little bit quicker to certain situations. But there's not anything that goes by that I don't question, so you guys are questioning, which is fair. That's what you should do and could do, and our fans can question because they're frustrated, I'm sure, and so am I. But again, if this was my first year as a head coach, I'd be like, oh gosh, what's the answer? Yeah, I know the answers. It's just not able to fix it as quick as we wanted to sometimes.
With young quarterbacks, do you go back to the basics a little bit? You have to do that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I think you do. Sometimes you get into game planning and you try to put a plan together for them, and you forget that there's still fundamental things you got to work with, and that's the thing that we have to make sure as coaches we don't overload these guys, because he's still learning. The good thing, like Scotty, he's got a good skill set, and he's a very conscientious guy, like I said, and he wants to be really good. So we're pushing it along because we got to. I mean, we got no choice, but he'll be fine.
Afterward, you said that on Saturday, you said that the things you've got to fix, and like the longer term problems, they have to go to the offseason. I understand that. Can you share a little bit like what you think you can, like what problems immediately right now are there that you can work on and get better and in the near term fix?
Well, on the obvious thing, we got to get bigger, stronger, and faster. We got to get some experience, which, you got to play to get experience. As coaches, we got to, I have a better idea of what our guys can and can't do. And then all that's going to come with every week that we play and every week that we practice. And then certainly roster, obviously there were some maybe guys that we misevaluated a little bit, and then some that we weren't able to get that we wanted to because of the situation we were back in 6, 7, whatever it is, 8, 9 months ago. So all that's kind of every process that we do, and whether it's retention or recruiting, and sometimes people forget about the retention part, that how chaotic it was back, December and January, when the guys are getting in the portal and getting paid, and we couldn't retain or get what we wanted. And so, but that's not, again, we got to learn from that. We got to make sure we evaluate, retain the right ones, and have a great high school recruiting class, which I think we're doing that now. That's why I don't mind sharing with you. I told the coaches yesterday, it gets me excited to watch our players get better here, which they will. But also when I look at, some of the recruits that are coming here and some of the recruits that we think we can get, and then I watch them when I leave here, I'm going to watch every one of our commits again, watch their senior film. Because that gives me a little bit of jump in my step and get excited because I see what we got coming in, and so that helps. Obviously, it's a player's game from a recruiting standpoint, and I think we're fixing. The best way to fix your problems is get really good players and coach them up really good, and that's what we're going to do.
Within the season, though, that was a great answer long term, but like in season stuff that you can actually cure right now to help you get a win or help you be closer to where you want to be.
Yeah, I think we got to look at, and that can't change your whole offense, your whole defense and special teams and stuff, but by now we know what we can and can't do well, and then frankly, give a couple other guys a shot. You know what I mean? Like I said, we're not going to be insane here and try the same thing, get a different result. So there's going to be a few guys that maybe been in the backup role in the past few weeks, and now get thrust into a starting opportunity if they have a good week in practice.
With all these injuries at quarterback, what do you do backup wise, I assume Scotty Keene, Max Anderson get practice reps?
Yeah, they're gonna get reps. I don't know what Khalil's situation is going to be. Max Brown has been banged up. He might be available this week, so it's I don't know. It's a unique situation.
I was going to ask if there's anything you could share on Khalil's situation and how you think he played when he was in.
Okay, I loved his competitiveness. He was into the game. But I don't know if he'll be able to practice all week, and that's going to be a hard thing. So he's questionable. But he's another guy with a bright future, very conscientious, and nobody played well, and nobody coached well in that game. But I like Khalil. He'll work his tail off all week to try to at least be there in an emergency role or something.
Rich, you're trying to balance the coaching from the negative plays to learn versus emphasizing some of the positive things that happen. How do you do that with your players? And do you point out, hey, as poorly as we played, you were within a touchdown at halftime?
Well, it's hard to put a ribbon on a bad performance, but it's over. You know what I mean? Let's shoot. We get to play another game at home. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a really good atmosphere. It's cold rush. Heck, let's get excited about playing football. And I think I've got to make sure that we feel that during the week. I mean, we got some good players, and we got a chance to win. There's still a lot of football. Well, we got 5 more games in the regular season. There's a lot of football left, and let's put it this way: it's going to be hard to play that bad again, right? So let's flush it away. Let's flush it away and get jacked up about playing. And they're keeping score. I mean, it's just I was mentioning earlier we're doing a media segment. I think it was maybe with Tony, and it becomes, the coaches, it's a job, and I think sometimes we look at it as just a job and don't enjoy it as much, but that's kind of our profession. But I'm sensing a trend in college, and some of my colleagues are the same way, that it's becoming too much of like a job for the players, maybe because they're getting paid, or some of them are getting paid, and all that there's like checking in for work and checking back out. In the NFL, it's a job, and when they're done with practice or meetings, they go home to their families. In college, it's still, you may look at that as a job, and they are, I guess, semi-professional, but it still needs to be a game for them. They need to enjoy it, and I got to do a better job of letting them. I tried to express that, but I don't want it to be where they're laughing and giggling in pregame, or they're clowning around in the locker room before the game or something like that. It can't be that, but they still need to get back to having the joy of playing football. I mean, that's that part of it. I've got to do a better job of our guys understanding that, hey, you're a young guy and it's still a game. Don't worry about all the outside stuff. Go and play football and have some fun.
The coal rush game, can you talk a little bit about just what honoring the state's coal mining heritage and legacy means to you, especially with your ties to the state?
Yeah, I don't know when it started, but it's a great idea. First off, coal mining and the coal mining industry in the state of West Virginia is part of the fabric of who we are and what the state is all about. Yeah, I know that's obviously firsthand. I grew up in Granttown, which is a coal mining community. My grandfather was the first one. He was a coal miner. When he came overseas, my dad was a coal miner. My brother worked in the coal mines. Half the kids I went to high school with would go work in the coal mines. So, I know it. I know and have so much pride for the people that worked in that industry. And I seen it like I said, I seen it firsthand. And I seen my dad work day shift. I've seen him work afternoon shift. I've seen him work night shift, and then come home and then work in the garden all day. And I told y'all I don't like pulling weeds, but it's to me, like when we start, or our players or anybody start to feel, man, this is hard, isn't it hard? It's not nearly as hard as going way underground and crawling through there and scraping coal out for a living. That's a hard job. This stuff is not that hard.
You talked about miscalculations on things. Do you think it was a miscalculation maybe in expectations when you got here to sell hard edge before you knew you had it and before it was developed?
Bob, that's probably a deep introspection that I probably did have a little bit. I mean, I still think you got to have something that you're gonna like build your program around, and then it has to be the message from day one till the end of the thing. My expectation was probably higher than or thought it would happen faster than it did. You know what I mean? I think, maybe after the Pitt game, you thought, well, it was there. And it really wasn't. I mean, it's there to some degree, but not ingrained in everything in the program like it needs to be. And I'm not just talking about hard edge, but like when it's truly the culture that we want and need and will have, you won't have one player loafing or one player taking a play off or one player being soft at any time, because he might be a freshman that's playing for the first time, but by the time he gets to the game, that he'll know that from the other players. Hey, that's not how we do stuff. You know what I mean? And that's probably the most disappointing thing that we've got to get corrected as coaches. That how we played in that game, effort wise and competitiveness wise, and that was the biggest word, the competitiveness. Can't ever happen again. But you're right. I think it's probably was a little my expectation that we could teach it. I thought we could teach it better, and we failed as coaches to get that.
How long did it take to catch on the first time around? Was that first you were inheriting much more players from Don Deal than you inherited here?
Yeah, it was still a little while. I remember the first time here, but I can remember the first year at Glenville, and I went there in 1990, and we went the first year was, I don't know, it was 17-1, or I don't know what the record was. Bad, but it was better than the year before, but it was bad, but the culture was set, and then every year got better after that. The same way here, here it was like I think we had lost a pretty good class, and then I think Rashid got hurt, and so it was a struggle that year. But I remember our second off season, it was like, oh my gosh, this is night and day between the first off season. I would suspect our first off season here wasn't that bad, but it probably fooled me. That, to your point, that I think we got it. I think we're getting at the culture right. You know what I mean? And obviously we didn't. I mean, by judging what's happened in the last couple games, but we can still get it right, and we will. I ain't gonna sit back here and say, okay, we got it right now, but we will have it.
Rich, take you way back a little bit, a couple of memories. Your past games against Sonny Dykes, he was at Cal. I looked at you, they were shootouts. You guys won both of them. Memories of that, and then also your last college football game as a player was against TCU.
Yeah.
So start with Sonny Dykes.
Yeah, we did. Sonny, Cal was a hard job then, and I thought he did a good job, and his teams were pretty talented. I think Jared Goff was a quarterback, and I think the one at Arizona was a Hail Mary, wasn't it? I think so, yeah. We got lucky and won and threw. Wasn't just a Hail Mary, we got an onside kick and a Hail Mary, which is two things that usually don't ever happen, and won that one. And then I think the other one, I don't know if it was an overtime game. But anyway, I've known Sonny a long time and have a lot of respect for him. I actually forgot we played against TCU in the Blue Bonnet Bowl, the Blue Bonnet Bowl. And that was in the old Astrodome, right? Yep. Yeah, that was, now that I remember that.
Do you remember any plays? I mean, it's your last college game, walking off the field. No.
Yeah, I remember. Well, I do remember walking off the field after the last college game, and I was happy we won, but I also remember this doesn't seem fair because when I was a freshman here, we played in 3 JV games. like against Ohio State and Penn State or somebody. And we all lost a year of eligibility because we played in 3 meaningless JV games, which they don't have anymore, right? And I can remember, like, man, it would sure be nice for this not to be my last game because of those silly JV games we played. So I was happy that we won, but, like, upset because I wanted to keep playing, you know.
Hate to take you back a step, just one more thing on kind of the coal rush theme and like the coal mining stuff. Did you this week? Do you have any plans to like tell the team any special stories of your experience around coal mining growing up? Maybe talk about the state history.
I'll just probably bring it up to the fact that it's kind of a honor that we get to have to try to bring that coal mining industry to the state of West Virginia, and that I hope they understand that, you know, how hard that profession is and how our guys don't really have it that hard if they think they're having things hard. So I'll probably bring that up a little bit.
Khalil getting hurt and kind of the game going the way it did, was there maybe an opening for Max, or was he not ready last game?
Well, yeah, it was. Yeah, there would have been, yeah, but he wasn't 100% ready, Max Brown, to go in there. So that was, like I said, it's been a unique challenge from that position.
Guy we have.
Pardon? Max? I think so. Again, we'll see how he moves around today and tomorrow.
He's the only guy we haven't seen. You've seen him. Obviously, you like him. He fits in what he does, but is he?
He's gotten one game, right? And that's when he tried to jump the guy and got hurt.
Right. But like, you've seen him in practice, and you brought him here. He's played this level.
He's got great arm talent. You know, he's a big physical guy, tough guy. But he's a freshman in the system, so he's still learning. But I like his competitiveness. I don't want to feel him jumping and trying to hurdle anybody. But yeah, we got to get him. Hopefully, got to try to get him ready to play just in case.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yep.